Marking the end of the Mexican-American War and leaving close to 75,000 Mexicans in a compromising position, the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo of 1848 inspired what would become an extensive battle against prejudice and discrimination. The agreement promised American citizenship, equal social status, and protection of property rights. The reality, however, was much different. Anglo-xenophobic views towards Mexicans helped create a stereotypical dogma that would marginalize even Americans of Mexican descent for decades to come. This created a profound wound within the Mexican psyche and changed the course of the lives of future generations completely. Major events, such as the repatriation of more than 1.2 million Mexicans, 40% of them mistakenly being American citizens, during the Great Depression, highlighted the conditions Mexicans, or those of Mexican descent, dealt with in their own country. Furthermore, amongst all of the categories that showcased unfair treatment of Mexican Americans, none was more evident than the struggle for equal education. Education has been an equalizing factor in American society for decades. Regardless of the efforts aspired, the vision failed to grant its endeavored impartiality and opportunity to a diverse group of minorities, one of the largest being Americans of Mexican descent. Initially, Mexican schools were built in rural areas in an attempt to keep cheap labor in farms and keep Mexican children separated from the Anglo children. However, this practice gradually spread to urban areas and gained popularity. Its extent was so massive that by the 1930s, 85% of school districts in the Southwest were in some way segregated. In contrast to African Americans who were separated on racial grounds, Mexican Americans were separated based on language and culture.
In places like California and Texas, where there was large populations of Mexican American students, they often had their own schools. Like there was the Mexican school and then there was the white Anglo school.
Students also underwent Americanization programs that attempted deculturalization by rewarding them for speaking English and punishing them for speaking Spanish. One of the most devastating parts of the issue is by far the conditions students experienced in schools. School conditions were horrendous. They were overcrowded and decaying. Teachers were encouraged to incinerate any child's dream of a future beyond labor in the homes and fields. Equipment was outdated and funds for classroom supplies were constantly reduced, something unimaginable for Anglo children. Pupils were not being given the tools necessary to meet college requirements, and more than half of Mexican American students dropped out of high school and were behind compared to white children their age.
They also would use IQ tests to say that, Mexican students weren't as intellectually advanced as the Anglo students. That's why we need to keep them separated.
This would make the struggle for equality for Mexican Americans in the classroom a centerpiece of what will be the Mexican American Civil Rights Movement, or el movimiento.